Imagine a king so large, so massive, that when the assassin's blade plunged into his belly, it disappeared entirely, hilt and all. No blood, no scream, just silence. The assassin slipped away, locking the doors behind him, leaving the king's servants to assume their ruler was simply taking a long, private nap. But this was no ordinary nap. This was divine justice served in the most unexpected way. Welcome to the bizarre, thrilling, and oddly humorous story of Ehud and Eglon, a tale of rebellion, revenge, and a king who was, quite literally, too fat to impale. Our story begins in the book of Judges, a time when Israel was caught in a vicious cycle of sin, suffering, and salvation. The people would turn away from God, fall into the hands of their enemies, cry out for deliverance, and God would raise up a judge to rescue them. But this time, the enemy was the Moabites, led by a king whose name, Eglon, means little calf. And let's just say, by the time we meet him, he's not so little anymore. Judges chapter 3 verses 12 to 14 sets the stage. Again the Israelites did evil in the eyes of the Lord, and because they did this evil, the Lord gave Eglon king of Moab power over Israel. Getting the Ammonites and Amalekites to join him, Eglon came and attacked Israel, and they took possession of the city of palms. The Israelites were subject to Eglon king of Moab for 18 years. 18 years of oppression, 18 years of humiliation. The Israelites were forced to pay tribute to this Moabite king who had set up his throne in Jericho, the very city God had once delivered into their hands. But God hadn't forgotten his people. He was about to orchestrate one of the most audacious, unconventional deliverances in biblical history. Enter Ehud, a left-handed Benjamite. Now, in a world where right-handedness was the norm, being left-handed was considered unusual, even suspicious. But God often uses the unexpected to accomplish his purposes. Ehud was chosen to deliver the tribute to King Eglon, but he had a secret mission: to assassinate the king and free Israel from Moabite tyranny. Here's where the story takes a dramatic turn. Ehud crafted a double-edged dagger, about 18 inches long, and strapped it to his right thigh under his cloak. Why the right thigh? Because most guards would search a person's left side, assuming that's where a weapon would be hidden. But Ehud, being left-handed, could draw the dagger from the opposite side with deadly precision. Judges, chapter 3, verses 16 to 18, describes the scene. Ehud had made a double-edged sword about a cubit long, which he strapped to his right thigh under his clothing. He presented the tribute to Eglon, king of Moab, who was a very fat man. After Ehud had presented the tribute, he sent on their way those who had carried it. Notice the detail: Eglon was a very fat man. This isn't just a throwaway description, it's crucial to the story. Eglon's size would play a pivotal role in what happened next. After presenting the tribute, Ehud turned to leave, but then stopped and said, "I have a secret message for you, O king." Intrigued, Eglon dismissed his attendants, eager to hear this confidential message. Judges, chapter 3, verses 20 to 22, paints a vivid picture. Ehud then approached him while he was sitting alone in the upper room of his palace and said, "I have a message from God for you." As the king rose from his seat, Ehud reached with his left hand, drew the sword from his right thigh, and plunged it into the king's belly. Even the handle sank in after the blade, and his fat closed over it, for he did not draw the sword out. Instead, Ehud escaped through the latrine and locked the doors behind him. Let's pause here for a moment. The image is almost comical in its grotesqueness. The dagger disappears entirely into Eglon's massive belly. No blood, no struggle, just silence. The king's servants, seeing the locked doors, assume their ruler is taking a private moment. They waited and waited, until finally embarrassment turns to concern, and they unlock the door to find their king dead on the floor. Meanwhile, Ehud makes his escape, rallies the Israelites, and leads them to victory over the Moabites. Judges chapter 3 verse 30 tells us, "That day Moab was made subject to Israel, and the land had peace for 80 years. But what does this story mean for us today? Why does it matter that a king was too fat to impale? First, it reminds us that God often works in ways we don't expect. Ehud was left-handed, an outsider in a right-handed world, yet God used his uniqueness to deliver his people. Second, it shows us that no oppressor is too powerful for God to handle. Eglon may have been a fat, arrogant king, but he was no match for God's justice. And finally, it challenges us to trust in God's timing. The Israelites suffered for 18 long years, but God's deliverance came at just the right moment. As one Bible commentary notes, the story of Ehud is a powerful reminder that God's methods are often unconventional, but his purposes are always just. So the next time you feel overlooked, underestimated, or overwhelmed, remember Ehud. Remember the king who was too fat to impale, and remember that God can use even the most unlikely people and circumstances to accomplish his will. Thank you for joining me on this journey through one of the Bible's most fascinating stories. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Dynamis Faith Media for more deep dives into the Word of God. Until next time, keep seeking, keep believing, and keep trusting in the God who delivers. Amen.